Welcome, welcome, Steph Ruhle.
Thank you, Molly Jong.
How are you doing?
Great, overwhelmed. There's so much news to cover. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just so much. There's so much news. I mean, there was before the war, and the war has thrown. Just the war impacts almost every other thing that we cover. And I think, unlike just covering the U.S. economy, the average person doesn't think about foreign policy. The average person doesn't vote on foreign policy, and so
Mhm.
just even getting to basics, right? Lots of us who are in the news business are now like knee deep in national security and foreign policy, but most people aren't. And so just every day, even getting to the point of zero of like, what's the history with Iran? How did we get here? Why did we get here? And what do we go from where do we go from here? Is so difficult because the administration has yet to articulate why we got here and even what we're doing.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because it feels like this is sort of this war with Iran was always like the third rail, right? Like there were so many Republicans who had they had sort of toyed with this. I mean, John Bolton is a great example. You have John Bolton who is like if you think of a person who loves war, like
Mhm.
in this, in this decade, which is not a very, a decade where we sort of had gotten over foreign adventurism, or at least we thought we had, and Donald Trump had. He even has said it's like almost enough at this point, which is a terrifying idea.
It really is about strategy, not even execution, because we've got, the greatest military in the world. But I cover a lot of guys who are sort of George Bush, Condoleezza Rice loving
Mhm.
Republicans who, at the beginning of this were like, I love this. I've wanted this forever. Do you know how
Mhm.
horrible Iran is? And you're like, yes, totally. But now here we are 18 days in, and they're like, whoa, 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 right? Just think about this. The president who's been beating up on our NATO allies in every possible
Yeah.
way, both in Trump 1.0, but especially in Trump 2.0. It was just a few
Mhm.
weeks ago. Our European allies had to put troops in Greenland because Trump wanted to take it, right?
Yeah.
We
Not
just
great.
heard from Germany's foreign minister, finance minister yesterday when the president is saying, you guys better show up, NATO allies, you better help us or you're going to face consequences. They basically said, "This is not our war." And I think
Mm.
one of the reasons they're saying it, not that they're not our ally and they don't come to our aid, the Wall Street Journal reported yesterday the president knew beforehand the calculation that if we decided to strike Iran, there's a really good chance they would F with the Strait of Hormuz. They would
Yeah.
shut it down. The
Yeah.
president knew this and decided I'm going to go for it anyway. So I think one of the main frustrations, besides that you've been beating us up in every possible way since you've been in office, like besides like the emotional aspect of it from our foreign allies, they're like, "Where's the strategy, bro? You knew
Mhm.
this could happen with the Strait of Hormuz, but Trump is always like, I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, I'm the best. I'm going to steal your lunch money, and you're
Right.
still going to give me your homework." Um, and they're like, "We all saw this coming." And sort of while closing the Strait of Hormuz doesn't hurt us as much as let's say it would have in the 70s and the 80s because we're far more oil independent, it hurts the whole world. Right? They always say like when the US, sneezes, the rest of the world gets the flu.
Right.
That's parts of South Asia right now who are saying people should work from home. We need to close schools because they're so dependent on that oil. And just watching the president or the administration say, we're going to guarantee the tankers are going to be safe going across the strait. We're going to have Navy escorts. All it takes is one mind, right? These tankers are such easy targets, and trying to convince these companies, sure. I mean, the president last week was basically like, boys, don't be chickens. You better get on that boat and go. Don't be chickens. Come on
I know.
now.
Well, also don't be chickens, and also there's no one who is going to ensure that the oil, which is the reason
Correct.
you're doing it, which is
Which is the
why
reason
the
doing
ship
it.
would blow up anyway. I want to pull back and talk to you about something that you and I have talked about before. And
Mahjong?
yes, mahjong.
Oh,
No,
perfect. That's why I'm here.
the idea that this administration was an administration crafted by the rich for the rich. And there was a time right before right in the summer running up to 2024 election where you and I had many a talk where we both, it was clear for me, and I'm sure it's clear to you, that we had both been talking to very rich people, maybe the same very rich people, maybe different very rich people. And they had all been like, this is it. We're going to get the government we want. And they're
And
going
they're
to
getting it.
fix, right. And they're going to fix woke. And they're going to do all the stuff that we have been secretly wanting them to do. So go on that.
So I would say two things. So, on one level, this administration was crafted by the super rich for the super rich, and you see it in every way possible, right? It's why I think you do not see the president doing rallies. President
Hmm.
Trump doing rallies used to be one of his favorite activities, right? Drop down on the plane, you're in an open field, thousands of people coming, like, you're my boy, bro. Finally, we have a president who's going to bring jobs back to the Rust Belt. Like, I can talk the way I want to talk. I could live the way I want to live. Like, don't tread on me. President sent him 2 rallies total. Instead, he goes from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, go to the White House. Why? Because he is in a gilded cage. This administration are completely beyond serve the pleasure of this president. There is no one to push back on him at all. When you're wondering how come, with the exception of Kristi Noem, how come none of these cabinet members get bounced? They're failing at their jobs. It has nothing to do with failing at their jobs. They serve President Trump. They don't say no to him. They follow his every whim, and he likes that. Now, when you think about who he's spending his time with, go to Mar-a-Lago, right? The night we struck Iran, they still held a multi-million-dollar fundraiser, and the press secretary said it was super important to do it. So the president is now surrounded by people in the business community who are wildly profiting from this information. I mean, excuse me, from this administration. Either it's they get
Ah,
information and they're able to
right.
invest on it. And I know, Freudian slip. They get information and they're able to invest on it. They're getting government contracts. There's lots of people that I cover who don't like the president, who think the president is dangerous. However, they have figured out that he's completely transactional and they know how to work him, right?
Hmm.
Last year, as devastating or as complicated or as problematic as the tariffs were, the president and Howard Lutnick, I would argue, even with the Supreme Court striking the tariffs down, I would argue they still wouldn't have it any other way. Because
Right.
every single day last year, fixers were getting paid to get business people and foreign leaders meetings with the commerce secretary, meetings with the president, meetings with the treasury secretary, right? They would come in and the answer, trying to get an exemption from the tariffs. And the answer is great. What are you gonna give me?
Yeah.
And on every possible turn, those businesses, those foreign leaders were giving gifts, favors, presents, business opportunities to this administration. And
Yeah.
so I think that the idea that this was going to be an America first administration, I would say the president wanted to implement ideas around his America first policies in Trump 1.0, right? Close the border was all about like America first.
Right.
What you're seeing now is truly Trump first, right? Donald Trump Jr. is an advisor to both Kalshi and Polymarket, the two prediction markets, right? We've
Right.
got people betting day in and day out about the war. John Jr. is now an advisor in a drone company. The president signed an executive order. What was it, 8 weeks ago? We're not buying Chinese drones anymore. Lots of people have always gotten the ick over presidential pardoning power. The
Right.
ick has gone so far off the reservation. There's tons of reporting on. We now have a full like lobby and cottage industry
Yeah.
just focused on how to get
Unpardoned.
super wealthy people unpardoned. And
Yeah.
remember, when people are unpardoned, they're not just getting out of jail. In the cases of white collar crimes, in the cases of fraud, where they then are expected to pay millions of dollars to the individuals who they wronged, that
Yeah.
disappears.
Yeah.
So it's not just this person's, get out of jail. Think about all of their victims who are not being made whole. And
Yeah.
so what I find interesting though is now we're at war. Now we have a press secretary who has not said that we wouldn't employ a draft. So for all of these super wealthy people who are
Right.
like, I'm gonna get this guy wrapped around my finger, or who didn't like him, but they said if you can't beat him, join him, or they love what their stock portfolio is doing, or they love the tax refunds they're getting. What are they gonna do? Build a moat around their castle with a drawbridge? We're now at war.
Yeah. For sure. I think there was a fair amount of not thinking through the second order effects. I mean, Like, and Straits of Hormuz is a really great example of that. Like, anyone who had read a book knew that that was what Iran had, that that was the thing they could do that would cut a,
Okay,
20%
but
of all
sister,
out.
welcome to Trading 101. You've got guys who are great investors who think I'm a great stock picker. I understand how markets work. And they believe that transitions into deeply understanding the complications of war. No, you don't.
Right.
Okay, that's like you don't. And so exactly like the second order effect is where all these people are like, oh, but the problem is the second order effect impacts our military, it impacts our
Oh, yeah.
country, it impacts our budget. If you're just an investor, you can buy it all today and you can sell it all tomorrow and then hop on your plane and head to Palm Beach. Just think about the fact that this war is costing us $1 billion a day.
Yeah. Let's talk about the third order effect here. So in New York, you and I have a mayor who are very rich friends. I've never seen them more agitated. In fact, I have had friendships end over the mayor because they're so upset. I'm not entirely sure why, but they're very mad. The mayor has so far, for a New York City mayor, which is largely a job that's not ideological, but management, he's done a pretty good job, unless I'm missing something huge. So my question is, there is clearly a backlash to a government kleptocracy. And my question is, what happens next with that?
So, it's funny. Like, we'll see. It's hard to say because we don't know. In terms of what has Mamdani done so far, well, like, sure, it's great. They picked up the snow. You feel good about that. I think
Right.
that the other shoe hasn't dropped yet with what is he going to do about taxing New Yorkers, right? New Yorkers
Right.
already pay a ton of money in taxes. I think that's the whole thing. However, this idea that people are leaving New York in droves is
You're
just
right.
not the case, right? We see it in California. Like this idea in California that they're going to have the billionaires tax. I'm not even
Right.
saying whether I like it or not, but what I am saying is if you think you're going to get billionaires in California to suddenly fork over a giant amount of money, they're not.
Right.
Here's the thing about being a billionaire. You're not worried about leaving your house empty in New York City. You're not worried about where your kids go to school. If you're a billionaire, you're going to pick up stakes and you're going to go somewhere else
Right.
and you're going to bring your tutors and your kids. So, this idea that like they're going to scoop up the billionaires there, I don't know how they're possibly going to do that. I'm not
Right.
saying whether they should or they shouldn't, but I'm saying in terms of
It's just
execution,
going to be
I
hard to do.
I
Yeah.
do like, guess what? Nobody is better at swan diving through a loophole than billionaires.
Yeah.
They can pick up and move. Most
I
people can't.
mean, right.
However, this idea that people are leaving New York in droves is baloney. Here's
Yeah.
case in point. Try to get into a restaurant in New York City. You cannot. Go
Try to
look.
get into a private school in New York
Try to
City.
get it. Okay, getting into private school, getting into kindergarten, and getting into private kindergarten in New York City this past February was possibly the hardest year we have seen to date. We now have private clubs that cost tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars popping up all over New York City, right? 6 years ago, you probably had, Soho House, a few like Union League Club doubles kind of
Right.
places uptown. Now, all over the place, right? I was
Mhm.
just speaking to like a major restaurateur who said, you cannot get into any restaurants at this point.
Yeah.
And so, this argument that the wealthy are fleeing, the wealthy are not fleeing, right? What
Yeah.
we are seeing is scores of young people saying, I don't understand. I've worked my tail off
Yeah.
and I simply cannot afford New York City. And those young people are how Dora Mamdani was elected,
Right.
right? And many of these young people aren't super radical. They're simply
No.
saying this doesn't add up. When
Yeah.
you grew up here, I didn't. But when I got out of school, it was expensive. Young people moved to New York City. Like you moved
Yeah.
to New York City and you didn't have to donate plasma on your way home from work.
Right.
This
Or
was
you
always an
could
expensive city. This was
theoretically eventually buy it something.
Yes, but I mean, even as a renter, right? Like you
Yeah.
could come to New York. It was possible. And now
Yeah.
young people are saying it's simply not possible. And listen, there's lots of reasons people feel the way they feel about Zohar Mamdani. I'm just speaking economically. If we do end up seeing major taxation, I think it's going to have an impact. But between now and then, this idea, right? I think part of the narrative of people saying, look, everybody's leaving in droves. I think it's being led by like real estate brokers who sell properties in Greenwich. Like I don't there's not evidence of it.
I want to get back to this idea of what's happening right now with Trump because he knows what he's doing is not popular. And I think he knows it because anytime he is talks about the midterms, he talks about the SAVE Act. And I think that his pivot to the SAVE Act is a real case in point of why, right? And we even hear other Republicans say things like, if we don't pass the SAVE Act, da 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 da. So
But just think about this. He's not trying to do anything in terms of serving the American people, whether it's on healthcare or the price of living. He literally is just throwing the Hail Mary pass. No, 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 no. It's got to be the Save America Act because I need to suppress voting.
yeah,
Now, do I think he's devastated? I don't. I think the Save Act is like his last ditch effort and he doesn't want to get smoked in the midterms.
right.
However, I don't think he's nearly as upset about it as he would have been in Trump 1.0.
Oh,
I had a
say
chance to see the
more.
president. I had a chance to see the
That's
president 3 weeks
right.
ago.
Went to lunch with
I
him.
had the privilege, and it's a privilege. I'm not complaining about it at all.
No, and you
I
went
had
to
the
the White House.
privilege of going to the White House for lunch, on the day of the State of the Union,
Yeah.
and I would argue,
You're the
one of the things
sacrificial lamb.
not that I no, I both I listen, you can feel however you feel about the
No,
president.
I
If you wanna
it's an
cover
honor.
him,
Right,
getting a front row seat and getting to spend an afternoon with him, I'm not saying, we were sipping Diet Cokes out of the same I'm not saying we had 2
right,
straws and 1 Diet Coke. I'm not saying, we played backgammon in the Lincoln bedroom, but if you wanna cover the president,
right.
getting to sit across from him and listening to him talk for 3 hours, it was to me, there was a huge value in it. That's where I
And
really
he's
started.
still the leader of the free world. You don't have
Correct.
to like him, but he has that job.
Correct. But that's where I really started to see, I'm like, this guy is in a gilded cage.
Yeah,
We can't stress enough how much money he's making. Okay? His family is now worth billions and
yeah,
billions of dollars.
yeah.
Okay? More than if you argue that his life hero, political hero is Vladimir Putin,
Right.
look no further than Trump's wealth, right? Vladimir Putin was once a KGB agent. He now, despite the fact that Russia's economy has been severely handicapped for years, he's one of the richest people in the world. Trump
Yeah,
could end up in that situation, right? Don Jr. and Eric, look at Jared.
yeah,
Jared is in the Middle East as a chief negotiator while he's raising money for his fund.
yes.
I
Can
can't,
you
like,
imagine? Also, who doesn't invest in that fund? He's making the policy that you can
but this is
profit
it.
on.
But this is
Yeah,
it. Who doesn't invest in that fund? He directly impacts everything at this
right.
point.
If
And
he
so
wants to
let
grow
me
the
just go back to,
economy in
yes,
Kuwait, he can.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I'll just go back to is the president worried about the midterms? Sure. But I don't think to the extent people, so he's like, yes, let's get this Save America Act thing through so we can make sure not enough people vote. But beyond that, girl, he can just tune out
Yeah.
because inside that wonderland at the White House, he's got, scores of servers there with his Diet Coke. He's got an
Yeah.
entire administration saying, when did you get great at being perfect? And then he
Yeah.
heads down to Mar-a-Lago where people are saying, can I please pay $5 million for 5 minutes of your time? He likes
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. It does seem like from yesterday's presser that where he said he had talked to another president,
I was just about to say this, girl. I mean,
that he might be losing a step. I don't want to get too far
okay,
ahead
just
of
in case our
ourselves
audience
here.
didn't see, okay, he's in the presser and he's like, let me tell you. I can't tell you which president it was. It might be bad for him, no, 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 no. But
Right?
one president called me and said, I wish I did it. You're doing it. I wish I did it. Right. And within minutes, Bill Clinton, not me, right? Barack Obama, not my team. George Bush, don't think anybody called from our squad. Like, what are you what? Who are you saying called you, bro? Like, I'm sorry. What? What are you talking about? But guess what? The president says that. That soundbite gets clipped, and there are, without a doubt, news organizations that are
Right.
now going to push to their
Right.
audience. A former president called them and said it was a good idea.
Right.
Okay. And those same news organizations are not going to follow that up with, but wait a minute. We all reached out to the living president's teams and nobody, and they all said not it.
Right.
That part is not going to get to that audience. And that is a gift to the Louise Rule, George Bush Republicans out there who are saying, he heard from another president. I'm sure it wasn't Barack Obama. I'm sure it wasn't Bill Clinton. It was probably George Bush.
Yeah.
He's down there. He's down there in Texas. He's with his
Right.
wonderful wife. She's a reader. He
Yeah.
told Trump behind closed doors, "Great job," right?
God, you really do have a Republican mother. And
I
I
do.
guess and it's also right. I mean, it's what is both demented and also very smart about Trump
Very
because
smart.
he
Very smart.
knows that it will get repeated by the CBSs of the world in a way that's not fact checked and it will be a little nod and a wink to those to
Yes.
that group that is a sort of swingish, not really, but
Swing-ish.
Republican-ish.
Swingish or not, they're not swingish, but it's a group of people who are looking for something to hold on
Yeah.
to say, "Look, this makes sense,"
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so like my mom who can talk about gas prices and food prices until her head falls off. Like this obviously makes it difficult because gas prices are up, food prices are soon
Yeah.
going to rise. What is she going to I haven't spoken to her in the last 24 hours, but what is she going to hang on to? She's going to say, I'm pretty sure George Bush, because it was Condoleezza a week and a half ago who
Right.
said she
That's
likes this idea, right? I
yeah.
don't know how she feels today, but Louise Rule will pull on those two strings, and that's going to be the lily pad that she floats on to say, like, see, don't you go telling me like he's out there doing something crazy nobody wants. George Bush told him it was a good idea. And so the president does this, but I will say this, like when you said the CBSs of the world, yes, but at the same time, you've got Pete Hegseth who's mad at the press, you've got Brendan Carr who's mad at the press, you
Right.
have the president who certainly is. Hot damn. Journalists are killing it right now.
Yeah.
This weekend
Yeah.
alone, just last week, I mean, I saw CBS do some great reporting, but
Right.
Wall
Great
Street Journal,
reporting.
Washington Post, New York Times. I
Mhm.
mean, the Wall Street Journal reporters, I'm not sure when they ate, showered, or brushed their teeth this
Yeah.
weekend. The most extraordinary thing to me, Pete Hegseth kicks everybody out of the Pentagon press corps unless you unless you sign a document that says we're only going to
Right.
report on your press releases, which means
Right.
like we're
And
only going to push your advertising.
right,
And
and
then
take
last
good
week says,
photos.
and last week, I don't like how my double chin is looking, which
Right.
I feel that. I don't like how my double chin is looking. Let's get these photographers out of here. While
Yeah.
that is happening, you've got calls from the inside, from the outside, from upside down, from in the basement, calling reporters saying this is no bueno, saying, no, no, no,
Mm.
no, no. The president knew the risks in Iran and did it
Mhm.
anyway, right? Think
Yeah.
about the jumbled communication last week about the potential that we did unintentionally strike that girls' school in Iran. Just think about how great the reporting is. And every time I read another one of these well sourced, super important stories, I feel grateful for all those journalists doing it out there.
Steph Ruhle, thank you.
Thank you, sister.